Can plasma make fertilizer? Well, let's chat about it. Hello, welcome to the channel. Here I like to just chat with you about different topics, science, random stuff. But this is the series on can plasma. And today I want to talk about fertilizer. It's quite important for food production, and especially today with the Strait of Hormuz being closed and something like 20 or 30% of the world's fertilizer coming through there. What do we do? Anyway, so today fertilizer is produced using something known as Haber-Bosch process. It's where you extract nitrogen from air, so separate out nitrogen, mix it with hydrogen that you produced by steam reforming, and then you heat it up to 400 or 500 Celsius, pressurize it to a couple of hundred atmospheres, and react it with a catalyst to produce ammonia. It's a crazy process, and to make it energy efficient, usually Haber-Bosch plants are huge. I think the number is, if you want to build a plant, your investment needs to be north of $1 billion. But you have, as a result, a very energy efficient fertilizer production plant. So for this reason, these fertilizer production plants are very centralized. So they produce them in one place and then they have to truck them to other places. That creates logistical tail for farmers. So farmers need to store this fertilizer. And fertilizer, as is, ammonium nitrates, they're explosive. So there are regulations on how much of this stuff you can have on site, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're coming back to the idea of using plasma. Now, plasma produces fertilizer in a very different way to Haber-Bosch. You take air with a bit of water, and using electricity, create plasma. You break nitrogen molecules, you break water molecules, you break oxygen, and you react them, producing nitrates, nitrites, and maybe even a bit of ammonia in liquid. Now, fertilizer typically is for plants, and you water the plants with fertilizer. In case of Haber-Bosch produced fertilizer, ammonium nitrate, for example, you have to add it to water, mix it really nicely, and then use that water. And then you have to have bacteria in the soil that break down this ammonia-based fertilizer and produce nitrates that plants actually use for food. In case of plasma, well, you have that nitrate directly in the water. Now, plasma uses electricity, and electricity is expensive. Plus, this plasma-activated water is not as stable as the solid fertilizer that you buy at Home Depot, where it lay on a shelf there for months or even years. Plasma is less stable. So as a result, you have to, if you want to use plasma to make fertilizer, minus, it's not as stable. Plus, it can be small and you can produce it on site. So there is a big move for making, instead of huge billion-dollar plants, make a smaller facility, maybe hook it up to solar panels and produce fertilizer right on site, right where you need it. Imagine you could have a little garden out in the backyard and a little solar panel and grow your veggies without thinking of producing nitrogen, without thinking twice. You still need, it's NKP. Is that it? I think so. So you're adding nitrogen, but the other two key ingredients that plants need as nutrition, you still need to add them. But nitrogen, you can use plasma to produce that fertilizer right on site. Commercializing that yesterday was a little bit trickier because Haber-Bosch is very cost competitive, as in plasma is way more expensive than Haber-Bosch. But today, industry is beginning to realize that centralizing the fertilizer production in one questionable location, maybe decentralize it. Maybe, electricity, especially with nuclear power, electricity theoretically can become much cheaper. If you have fusion reactors, electricity becomes so close to free that we could consider it as just something that the government provides equally to whoever needs it. In that situation, plasma could be quite advantageous, and that is why tons of research is happening around the world. We're working on it too. Anyway, can plasma make fertilizer? Yeah, and here's a funny story how I realized that that's possible. Years ago, we were in the lab working with students on plasma-activated water to increase or to control activity of mammalian cells. And the plant on my desk wilted away and looked dead, looked dried and dead. And our secretary, she called the water that we're working with magic water. And I threw out the plant, but she took it out of the trash and asked one of the undergrads to make a bunch of magic water, what she called plasma-activated water, make a bunch of magic water and use the magic water to water the plant. And guess what? It came back to life, which was pretty cool, and that made me start asking questions why and what plasma can do in agriculture, and that led to a grant from USDA, and the story goes on from there. But it's kind of cool how I discovered it and just stumbled on it, and instead of ignoring it, started digging deeper. So don't ignore things that happen in life. Ask questions why, and you could make a career out of it. Anyway, I enjoy having these little chats, and if you have any questions you'd like for me to answer, please post them in the comments down below. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.